Live from SABC studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of the Watchdog. My name is Vuyo Mvoko, and on the show tonight...
Driving a truck is not a scarce skill. And those who are involved, like Fikile will speak for himself. It is business, it is the workers. Zongai, you are on the wrong side of the law, we are going to act.
But is he going to put his money where his mouth is? Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula is my guest this evening. With hours to go before the Chief Justice hands over the much-awaited final report to the President, Raymond Zondo moves to dismiss suggestions of interference. We look at that story as well.
I've written to the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, to request that they investigate allegations of possible money laundering by the President.
DA leader John Steenhuisen turns to the FBI, asking the United States Law Enforcement Agency to investigate money laundering allegations against President Cyril Ramaphosa. But what are his chances? The Watchdog starts now. There is a heightened sense of anticipation over the delayed state capture report due to be released tomorrow. This morning, the Commission rebutted claims that the delay was because of the interference by President Cyril Ramaphosa. The inquiry said it needed to check the report for errors for the last time before handing it over. After missing the initial June 15th deadline, the Commission announced that the ceremonial handover of the report will be on Monday, but later pushed it back to the 22nd of June, which is tomorrow.
President Ramaphosa is expected to receive the fifth and final installment of the state capture report on Wednesday. Previously, the president announced that government would wait for the full reports to be handed over before taking any action. But he emphasized that other institutions were not prohibited from taking action within their mandate.
Government will therefore not make pronouncements on the findings nor the recommendations of the Commission's report before having received all parts of the report.
The Commission has taken more than 4 years to complete its work, with 3 years of oral evidence heard.
It's been a grueling 4 years of the Commission. In a few days' time, the 9th of January, we will complete 4 years since the announcement of the establishment of the Commission.
Initially, the inquiry was set to take only 6 months, but later the chairperson of the Commission asked for an 18-month extension.
I have decided to appoint a commission of inquiry. The court ordered that, among other things, the remedial action of the public protector is binding.
Many South Africans watch the Commission's proceedings with bated breath to see what will happen to the perpetrators. The Commission has interviewed more than 300 witnesses. Among the highlights of the Commission were failed attempts by former President Jacob Zuma to have the chairperson of the Commission, now Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, recuse himself from the proceedings. This issue landed Zuma with a 15-month jail term. Members of the Gupta family were among those implicated and fingered to be at the center of state capture, but they failed to appear before the Commission. Fast forward to now, 4 installments of the state capture report are before the President. They focused mainly on evidence related to SAA, Gupta-owned newspaper The New Age, SARS, Transnet, Busasa, Eskom, and the Free State asbestos saga. Some of those already implicated by the Commission's report have opted to take it on review, while others seemed unfazed.
A review may actually take the longest time before any conclusion on these matters is arrived at.
I've taken the decision that I will be taking the report to judicial review.
The final installment of the report has already caused a great deal of confusion and suspicion before its release due to multiple delays in handing it over to the presidency and making it public. Ntlantla Khatlane, SABC News, Johannesburg.
The country's labor federations are in high anticipation ahead of tomorrow's release of that last installment of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry report. COSATU and SAFTU want a cleanup of state-owned enterprises whose mismanagement and capture led to job losses.
Anticipation is high as labor federations want action against implicated individuals. This as they blame state capture in the collapse of some SOEs.
It's critical for the ruling party, the ANC and other parties whose public representatives are implicated to be removed, to go and face the courts and to clear the names or to be found guilty. But we should not be having compromised persons in positions of authority in the state, etc.
Jobs that we lost as a result of how state-owned enterprises were mismanaged and open up as a bank, basically, for the cronies to loot from and to destroy the future of many workers in Tinel and SAA, Brasa, Petro SA, you name them all. We want to see people in prison.
There is a call for Parliament to play a critical oversight role as unions argue the institution had failed to do so in the past.
Parliament also needs to make the necessary amendments to the laws, including the Public Procurement Act, to put into practice the different recommendations of the Zondo Commission, in particular around how public procurement is dealt with, how state-owned enterprises are governed, how municipalities are run. If we don't do all of these things, then the Zondo Commission will be a waste of money and time.
And SAFTU says even President Cyril Ramaphosa's role must be scrutinized by the Commission.
We hope that the report will close all of the questions that have been in a debate as to whether the Commission will make findings, for example, about Arthur Fraser and why he was not given an opportunity to make a presentation. We hope that the Commission will say something about the serious allegations made by the likes of Machela Koko, Brian Molefe about the role of the President and the possible conflict of interest in his capacity as the head of government business and head of the center that was established to address the crisis at Eskom and his relationship with Glencore.
The release of the Commission's report was delayed on Monday. The Commission requested more time to ensure it publishes a quality report. It, however, has denied interference from the President in the delayed release of the report. Ulelani Philip, SABC News, Parliament.
Make sure you tune in to the Watchdog tomorrow evening for a focused coverage of the state capture report to be handed over to the President. To our interview of the day now, he and his cabinet colleagues have now signed a fragile agreement with truck drivers and owners, but will it offer a lasting solution to the recurrent blockades that continue to cripple the country's economy? What about the frustrating license renewal problems that South Africans have been experiencing for the longest time? Only two of many issues I'll be canvassing with the Transport Minister this evening. Fikile Mbalula joins me on the line. Good evening, Minister. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Vuyo, and all the listeners.
Let's start with these, blockades which have been recurring. What gives you confidence that the agreement you and your cabinet colleagues have now reached with the owners and the drivers is going to last?
It is because we have been working with the industry, and the approach we have taken is not to talk to one side. We have engaged both the drivers, we have engaged the unions, we have engaged the business in the industry. So we came up out of that engagement with a plan of implementation, which was reduced to 10 points, to 11 points. So that gave us all, and me in particular, and my colleagues in government, through the multidisciplinary approach, more confidence, because the plan of action will be monitored monthly, and going into the weekend, we're looking forward for all the parties sitting down to knuckle down on the implementation, because part of the problem is that one party will be doing something somewhere and others will complain. So we are moving as a force, all of us, for the implementation of all the issues we have identified.
Well, by implication, you did not speak to all the parties before. Why was that?
We have been dealing with this matter. They say it is 5 years. We have been dealing with this matter 1.5 years ago. The parties have been talking, but not all around the table at the go. And it has been reactive approach.
Why was that? And that's really my question. Why was that? And will you take responsibility for the fact that you didn't do the best that you could do?
Well, Vuyo, don't push me into a corner of self-defense unnecessarily and not own up to what happened in the past. I think there were efforts to try and deal with this. What I'm explaining to you is that in the approach of dealing with the trackers and all of that, we established an IMC, and in our approach, it was important for us to engage everybody. So that in itself could have been a weakness, and we have rectified that in our dealings with the trucking industry at the present moment.
Does it also then not speak to the efficiencies of cabinet? Because you would have thought that, you meet every week or couple of weeks, or cabinet committees in between, that these issues would have been discussed thoroughly, and you would have come up with a strategy much earlier to deal with this problem. And I'm asking this because it becomes important when one looks at the action plan. Among the 11 points, that we're going to talk about in a bit, for example, is that the Department of Home Affairs and Labor and Employment will facilitate the enforcement of visa requirements. In other words, in the solutions that you are coming up, which you are now relying on for lasting peace, but also for this thing never to occur again, you are relying on each other to make sure that each one of you plays their part. But up to this point, there is no evidence that you are as efficient in that as perhaps you should have been.
We will be efficient, and this process will not collapse. We are going to guard it jealously to ensure that it does work. It doesn't only work for government, it works for our people in the truck industry, the workers who are raising the issues that they've raised, and we have agreed that we'll attend to. The issues of immigration, and in particular labor, have been tabled now before cabinet for processing to go to parliament. The legislative process is quite lengthier in terms of these matters, and those who are at the receiving end, the workers, run out of patience from time to time. So the better way to deal with it is not to deal with one part. Workers in a corner on their own address their matters, and then they get out of patience, and therefore you don't know what to do, is to have a committee that we've got now, which is a task team that will be sitting regularly to oversee the implementation of this. So communication and the implementation process will run through the veins of this process to ensure that it's alive, and then there is monthly briefing and reporting on it. So should there be a threat of a possibility of a strike, we'll know where does it come from. Blockages of the road, which are costly to the economy, we have made it very clear that those will not be tolerated, and we will act decisively to nip those activities of destruction in the bud. That's what we are going to do. So that process, we think it will be undermined by the work that we'll be doing through the task team and monthly reporting on the issues we have agreed on for implementation.
But if then, as you have just admitted, the mills of our legislative processes tend to grind rather slowly, what then are you going to, rely on, or what have you built into the system and agreement that will take care of those problems?
Part of the process we have looked at now, there are things, Vuyo, that we can do, we should be doing as we await the long-term things like the intervention in terms of immigration, the change of laws and all of that. We can do immediate things like, for instance, in terms of the Department of Transport, we will with immediate effect resume with the process of confirming driving license and PRTP of foreign drivers, and primarily to identify foreign driving licenses that are invalid. Part of the exercise will include identification of fraudulently issued driving licenses and the drivers in possession of driving of having such licenses. So these are the things that we will be doing with immediate effect, and we will accompany that with visible law enforcement. That goes with labor as well. When we've got employers who are in the system undermining what is required of them in terms of the employment of drivers in this sector, and bringing illegal foreigners in the sector, we are going through this process and this plan going to now smoke them out and then deal with them in terms of the law. Multidisciplinary process is going to involve the police, is going to involve the police and the help of it, Department of Labor, is going to involve the Department of Home Affairs, is going to involve us to ensure that we deal with these matters. And we are going to see that as we get in the implementation in the next coming weeks, we are going to see a lot of action on this. So we have looked at these matters and we'll tick the boxes. For each part which we are addressing, how far have we gone? When we get into the assembly every month, we'll get feedback. How far have we gone in the 10th point in terms of its implementation? So it's going to be a tight process that's not going to allow any loopholes of anarchy and blockages going forward. But over and above that, the process of the legislation also kicking in, which have already started, by the way, as we speak.
Do you personally think that drivers have a point or their complaints are valid when they complain about foreign nationals being employed and them being overlooked, and those foreign nationals being exploited, but of course accepting what trucking companies and logistics companies are giving them? Do they have a point in your view?
Yes, they do have a point, because driving a truck is not a scarce skill. And we are moving to a period where in which all the important employment opportunities within our economy for job preservation, they must be preserved for our people. Many other countries in this instance have done this, even in the African continent, leading countries like Ghana. They've got clear legislation and regulations that certain jobs are preserved for locals. So the local drivers are saying, we are not even addressing this matter in the context of Africa Free Trade Agreement because that stays intact. It doesn't mean that trucks and countries that trade with us will not be allowed in our country. Yeah, the issue that is being addressed is job preservation for locals in terms of driving trucks, local trucks, and all of that. Now, we have seen that, Vuyo, that this job preservation matter is being undermined deliberately because of cheap labor. So you get foreigners who are undocumented in our country, you get them to drive your trucks, and then you get away scot-free with murder, because these people will accept any peanuts, long working hours, exploitation, and all of that. They will accept that. So because they are foreigners and they are undocumented in the country. We are going to deal with that in terms of the legislation. And as the Minister of Labour, take these matters to Cabinet and before the National Assembly for legislation to be perfected on these matters. These issues are going to take us off the malice of protests and outcry of our people, that everything else in our hands that we can still, do on our own as South Africans is gone, and all of that. So it degenerates to levels of xenophobia. Yet the reality of the matter is that these things do obtain in the workplaces. So we've got to deal with this matter decisively, like we will be doing in the implementation of the 11 points we have agreed on.
Well, speaking of the Minister of Labour, he was quoted as saying the propaganda being witnessed by the trucking industry must be stopped and treated as sabotage and staged crime. It intends to cause disorder that the country does not require. What the truckers are doing is an affront to the entire South African community and should not be taken lightly. Do you share that view?
The closing of the roads is an illegal activity. It can't be defined as anything else other than that. It undermines economic activity. It affects even people who are not involved in this. It's an illegal activity in the first place because it is undertaken by faceless people. It is not only illegal, it is criminal because none of the people involved in it own up to it, because it is illegal. So the authority of the state is being tested to the limit, in the sense that somebody blocks the road with a truck, and then you get there, you find the driver, you say, why do you block the road? He says, no, there are people who came here, and then they took the keys away, and then they shifted the truck in this manner, and then they ran away. And then you ask everybody involved, who did this and why are you doing it? And nobody takes accountability because they know it's unlawful. So unlawful acts will be dealt as such. Economic sabotage will not be tolerated, because if we allow that, we will then get these notions by certain organizations organizing themselves along the N3, private security companies, private people patrolling the borders, then the authority of the state diminishes. So for all of us to be protected, let's understand one thing. You can protest, you've got the right to do that, bring your matters to the fore, but you've got no right to undermine the freedoms of others. Fundamental to the Bill of Rights and to the rights of others in terms of our constitution. Nobody have got the right to block the highway and all of that. So in terms of this 10-point and implementation, the Minister of Police and law enforcement agencies have made it clear, you know, that from now onwards, our interest is to get solutions. And from now onwards, please don't block the roads. That matter has been made very clear.
I don't think anyone will disagree with you that, you know, the authority, as you put it, of the state should indeed be felt, especially by those who break the laws. But you also have a responsibility to deal proactively with the problems that give rise to, you know, breaking of the law.
We are indeed doing that, Vuyo. I know we have been inundated by calls when there were blockages. I've been on the ground with Minister of Labour, with the workers, blocking the roads in the Eastern Cape, negotiating with them the whole day to move away. And you will have seen that the state and government have taken a long-term view on these matters, because we know that the issues that they are raising are fundamental and are important. So we have said ourselves that this not only a perception, but this view that we agree on matters and disappear for a long time are a problem. So let us ensure that these issues do not escape us. We put measures in place. We have agreements, we honor them, we monitor them. And then there is accountability in that sense. So that those on the other side, workers, employees, and those who are employed, and the unions understand, first and foremost, understand this not as a bargaining chamber, because we will be undermining one aspect in terms of what is given in this country. The right to strike, bargaining issues belong there. So this process is to address what in terms of the law have got an impact in terms of the defects of our policy in relation to the issues that those who are protesting are raising. So we are answering to those issues, we are cooperating, and we now have got a process of implementation of some of the things that they've raised. So we've got what we call Vuyo social compact, government, business, and those affected. So it will take us forward. I'm quite confident.
Let's talk about the licensing problems. This problem has been going on for a very long time. I know you guys have analyzed, you know, the innate system, and I think the question many people are asking is why this situation has been allowed to continue for so long.
First, let me answer your question, why this, as you see, Vuyo, again, take us to the Department of Transport. It does not mean that those who came before me were not dealing with these matters. They were. But the Department of Transport, in terms of leadership, there will be changes. From time to time, this department did not have a DG for the longest of time. We are going to be employing a permanent DG now. That's one part. Ministers have been changing. You know, this is a very important department. And when I say that, I say it guardedly, because it will be like I'm saying don't change me. But I'm saying that on all the issues we are dealing with today, these are matters that have been in the pipeline, should have been dealt with long time ago. Clayton Zimande was dealing with them. I'm simply picking up the baton, and that is why I say I finish the relay line on a high, and we fix things. You know, driver's license is one of them. We are 10 years back in terms of the renewal of the driving license regime in the country. Let me pick one point, which is the smart card of the driver's license. the machine that produced this card, the technology that it is outdated, it's obsolete as we speak. It was adopted in 1998. We're 10 years behind. So we are now implementing the new smart card system. And Cabinet have said, when I brought this to Cabinet, to me, go and look with other ministers. Can we move towards a single smart card for everything? Pension, social security, can you move in terms of ID and all of that? So we're done with that work. I'm chairing the interministerial committee on that work. I'm done with the process of the new card, and we should be in Cabinet, and we'll make pronouncements on that in a very short space of time. We were affected by COVID-19, and that forced us to introduce new regulations in relation to renewal of cards and all of that. We had to work very hard around that. There is a challenge with regard to DLTCs, their operation functioning, their professionalism. I've been dealing with that. Now we've intervened on those matters. You can go to Waterfall, that we used as our new way of doing things in terms of acquiring a driver's license, because we are addressing the point that to get the driver's license in South Africa is a nightmare. And we are also looking at the duration time. It is 5 years, but in terms of the National Land Transport Act, that issue is not very clear that it has to be 5 years. With all the experience we've got, we put in a research that have given me the results. I've got the report now. I'm ready to go to Cabinet with new proposals to probably relook at the 5 years in terms of the driver's license. I wouldn't speak too much about it up until it passed Cabinet and then it comes to the public. So we are looking at that matter and looking at changing the time frame of driver's license time frame. So we have had those challenges, Vuyo, and I can go on, and the interventions we are making. Okay. Which I will be happy to share with you.
Okay, I mean, you are, as you say, making interventions, and some of these have been announced. You have also looked at, the actual problems, like your faulty eye equipment, delays in validating fingerprints, slow speed and unavailability of the native system, and so on. But what I think South Africans would like to know is why things were like that. In other words, yes, you've identified the problems and what you're saying you're going to do about it, which you say you're willing to share with us. But why were things allowed to get to that point? If you can just name maybe 3 things that were responsible, for this breakdown, essentially.
The breakdown, Vuyo, is mainly, like I said, maybe I'm not very clear, let me repeat it.
Is it money? Is it people not doing their job? Is it that's what I'm asking?
The solutions have been there, they have not been implemented. We are 10 years behind on the issue of the new card. So you can't say that the problem is in aptness. The problem is that leadership at the macro political level that changes from time to time, including at the level of the department itself. This department did not have a DG for the past 10 years. And obviously issues like a driver's license card change and renewal, adapt to new technology should have been done. So why has it not been done? It is because that first, I can take to you leadership. It's a problem that we've actually had. And leadership consistency and changes that has had an effect also on us implementing all the things that we should have done long time ago. I can simply narrow it to that video. I've got no other answer that I can give to you because I'm working with the same people that have been in the system for the past 10 years, and I'm moving faster with them in terms of changing things and getting things moving in terms of the new driver's license processes. You have known me and you, Langlach, there was a problem. For the longest of time in Gauteng, I'm singling it just, it's not only language. DLTCs, what is the problem? Why there was so much corruption and all of that? How do we undermine corruption? The driver's license learning schools have not been regulated. We have intervened in terms of the law. It has gone back to Parliament. It is coming back. They will be regulated. We have intervened to undermine corruption with the introduction and the intervention of ensuring that we bring technology into the space. We have had hurdles in terms of that implementation with the learning schools. You have seen me on the ground addressing, firefighting with those who are affected and fighting the new system we are introducing. Everything is moving towards a new direction, which we will see in the next year or so. It will be totally different. To get a driver's license, it's going to be as easy as, like they say, Sunday morning.
Let's just, you're speaking of driving schools. There are a few people who have sent us some tweets who are watching this program. Nesh Kumalo says, I want to ask from the minister, when are they coming to the rescue of driving school industry? People are dying and we really can't breathe. Do you want to answer that?
Yes, Vuyo, driving schools will be regulated. We've got the amendment of the National Land Transport Act that intervenes in terms of this. And that goes also for the e-hailing. It was sent back by the president. It was started by Minister Nzimande and Joe Masangani. Good work they did. It is now before the National Assembly. It will come back with a rectification, which there were constitutional challenges in relation to it, and the president on his desk, he sent it back. So it's going to intervene decisively on the driver's license learning school in the country. They will be regulated and there will be no issues going forward. Okay, let's take a couple more tweets. Ask him why he has allowed South Africa's railway system to be destroyed in full public view. It's insane. A railway has so many benefits for all South Africans. He should be charged with treason. Yes, Vuyo, the railway situation now, where we are, I can take you on the ground. Important work is going on. Reconstruction of the stations. It is easy for anyone to be charged. Before I get charged, I must be investigated. It is the years of state capture, negligence that have happened in the system, a disorganized security system that was totally absent to protect the network as big as the railway line. What am I doing? I'm no longer talking the past, I'm talking the present. And I'm saying to you, it is not going to be like in the next year, I will be still here and talking about state capture. As I'm speaking to you, 4 corridors to 5 are up and running, and we're going to 10, which were promised the country in the State of the Nation. By November, December, all those corridors will be up. If you look at Soweto, where we are in Johannesburg, wake up and see. And then you look at Mabupani, it is up and running. You look at Leralla, go there and see the work that is being done to reconstruct the dilapidated and destroyed stations. They're going to be back, and they are back as we're speaking. We are hard at work, and we should be far away by now. We're delayed by ineptness and all the challenges we have had in the system. We have rectified that. We're moving with the speed of a cow train, and we have a war room that is monitoring this work and its implementation. So we've got new trains, big contracts have been awarded that were stuck in the system because capital projects at PRASA were not moving. We do have the money. There's been a big announcement on the awarding of the GO contracts. We are now moving with signaling and all of that. Look, exciting times are here again. We're back on track. So not yet to talk about Uhuru in the sector. Yes, we admit that state capture, ineptness, depletion of personnel, engineering capacity at Prasa brought us where we are. But now, look, we are very much on track.
Okay.
We are very much on track, no doubt about it. And I'm saying it without any shadow of doubt. Come with me.
Okay, let's take a couple of quick ones before I let you go. People's Fan has posted taxi fare increases from the 1st of July in Mamelodi. Any comment? Any comment, Minister, about fare increases that people are worried about?
The taxi industry, when they increase the fare, they don't consult with me, and some of the increase they say it's informed by inflation. But nonetheless, I know Santaco have just come from a conference, and I'm meeting their leadership not only to discuss the taxi fare, to discuss Lendloviangela in the industry, attacking of buses. In the routes that are legally agreed upon between us and the taxi industry, and then bulldozing people on the ground, particularly in different taxi ranks and routes. Cape Town, I know Alan Wind have written to us and the president complaining about this. So look, we are having not a conversation, but to talk to the industry about this particular matter, and it must stop with immediate effect. The issue of the fare, we are discussing and will be engaging with the industry and try to set up mechanisms and the platform of engagement so that this matter is not just a unilateral decision.
Okay, let's have, we're going to leave it there, Minister, because we've run out of time. I have many issues. There's many issues I wanted to canvass with you, but I can't move on now because we have to go to another story. But please make sure you honor our invites next time so that we don't have to wait for many issues to pile up before we have these conversations.
Yeah, give me 2 hours. I'm ready. Next week, I'll be with you. Thank you very much, Vuyo.
Yeah, so we're going to leave it for this evening. The Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula. To this now, the Democratic Alliance wants the United States FBI to investigate allegations of possible money laundering by President Cyril Ramaphosa. DA leader John Steenhuisen says this is part of holding the president accountable. This follows the alleged theft of millions of foreign currency at the president's farm. Former spy boss Arthur Fraser laid a criminal charge against President Ramaphosa regarding the 2020 alleged robbery at his Palapala farm. SABC journalist Kenny Mapanga has more.
The Democratic Alliance says President Ramaphosa must come clean and fully disclose the details surrounding an alleged robbery at his farm. This is the reason why it is now approaching the FBI to pursue the matter.
Written to the United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, to request that they investigate allegations of possible money laundering by the president. Specifically, we've requested that the FBI considers investigating the source of the funds and whether the money was brought into South Africa legitimately and declared to the appropriate authorities.
The Palapala saga made headlines when former spy boss Arthur Fraser laid charges against the president relating to the alleged theft of millions by robbers in February 2020, allegedly in collusion with a domestic worker at the farm in Limpopo. The DA is of the view that although the charges were laid by someone they describe as a dubious character, this does not exonerate the president.
That President Cyril Ramaphosa is a better option for president than Jacob Zuma or Didi Mabuza, and that this scandal was exposed by a character as dubious as Arthur Fraser does not exonerate Ramaphosa from having to face the South African people. These are serious allegations that will continue to do enormous harm to our economy, and our prospects of attracting investment and creating jobs, as well as the credibility of the office of the President.
The DA says it will pursue every possible angle to hold President Cyril Ramaphosa to account for the saga. Kani Mapanga, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Minister in the Presidency, Mondli Kungubela, says they are neither surprised nor bothered by the DA's move. Kungubela spoke to our international news editor, Sophie Mugwena.
One is a bit disappointed, not very much surprised that they display a lack of confidence in the adjudication processes of this country, in the law enforcement processes of this country. But that is for DA to explain. But I want to say history has demonstrated during the most difficulties the resilience of our adjudication processes, the resilience of our law enforcement agents. That's why we're able now to have arrested so many and also have been able to arrest so many, looking to arrest so many before those who are committing crime, in particular corruption. I also want to say, Sophie, as I speak to you, SIU released a report, Zondo released a report. Those are initiatives of the systems of law enforcement in this country. And those have not been edited by the President. All of them are online for everyone to see. And I don't know what DA is up to, but they are better to explain themselves. Well, on the side of the President, what I want to say, I think we need to respect the fact that the President said, allow the investigation to take place. But I dare say, you know, if you are cleaning mud, to expect that your face will escape having spots is actually, I'm sure you're living in your own world. But what is key is when that mud is thrown on your face, how you demonstrate that it's not your mud. And I think that's why I'm excited that our President, immediately these developments occurred, he has committed to cooperate with the law enforcement institutions to actually, that to me is consistent with his commitment to fight corruption in this country. Criminals, of course, that's my view. If you are fighting corruption, you will not be their friend. That's why I'm saying if you are cleaning mud, to think that you will not have mud on your face is actually believing too much.
Will the FBI look into this, and if so, on what basis? Well, Ulrich Roux is a legal expert and he joins me on the line. Good evening, Ulrich. Thanks very much for your time.
Hi, good evening, Vuyo. Thank you for having me.
Do you think the FBI will, in fact, what are the chances, perhaps is not as I should put it, that the FBI would even look at what the leader of the opposition is asking them to do?
I would say slim to zero, Vuyo, unfortunately for the DA.
Why is that?
And the reason why I say that is because the DA alleges that a crime was committed in South Africa. Now, they further allege that the funds must have come into South Africa in an unscrupulous or dubious manner. They have no proof of that. It would be impossible for the FBI to trace those funds being dollar notes from the United States to South Africa. And furthermore, the FBI has no jurisdiction to investigate an alleged crime that took place in South Africa. The only way in which this could possibly work is if the South African police services conduct a thorough investigation and they could pinpoint an alleged crime having been committed by either an American citizen or by someone who unlawfully brought the dollars into South Africa. And then they would work together with the FBI through a process, what we call mutual legal assistance with another country in order to assist in the investigation and in order to properly investigate the matter. But at this stage, I do not think that there's much chance that the FBI is going to react to the DA's letter, to be honest.
Not even this rationale of our concerns, as they call it, which they say is based on, one, in terms of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, any amount of currency transported in or out of the United States, which is more than $10,000, must be declared by filing a report of international transportation of currency or monetary instruments. And then secondly, it is not possible to withdraw such a large sums of USD within South Africa, nor is it the official currency of the country. And they list a couple more. You are saying none of that really gives the FBI something to work on or something that it can base its own involvement on?
Well, unfortunately, that is based purely on assumptions. Who's to say that that amount of dollars was not accumulated over a number of years by a number of individuals in South Africa, and it was brought in lawfully so, or it was exchanged through the valid exchange points that you get all over the country. But having said that, the exact amount is also not clear, because Arthur Fraser alleges that it was $4 million in US cash, whereas Ramaphosa has come out and said the amount is far less than that. The police have not come out and confirmed any amount as yet. So, it's all smoke and mirrors and up in the air at the moment, to be honest. There's no concrete proof that the actual amount was $4 million. And there's also no concrete proof that that was brought into the border in one instance and by one individual. So to make assumptions and to expect the FBI to react to the assumptions that have been made, I think amounts to illusions of grandeur, to be honest.
Do you know, I'm just curious, do you know of any instances or cases or where, the FBI kind of got involved, and under what circumstances?
The FBI will only become involved in a matter in South Africa if they have been requested to do so, as I said previously, through the process of mutual legal assistance, where our authorities request the FBI to work together with them to investigate a matter, be it either where a South African national has committed a crime in South Africa and has fled to the United States, or a key witness who was a witness to a crime in South Africa now finds him or herself in the United States, and they must be interviewed, and investigation must be conducted by the United States authorities to assist the South African authorities. And then you could very well see the two different countries' legal systems work together and police systems work together through that process. But quite simply, the FBI has no jurisdiction to now simply, when they receive a letter from the DA, now jump on an aeroplane and come and investigate a matter in South Africa. It's far-fetched, to say the least, and I don't think we must hold our breath expecting them to become involved.
So it's a long one, slim to zero, as you say.
Thank you, William.
Ulrich, thank you very much for your time this evening. Ulrich Roux, who is a legal expert, helping us understand under what circumstances, something like what the DA is asking would in fact be done. And the one currently being that the DA once looked into doesn't seem to be one of those. And that's our show for tonight. Do join us again tomorrow night, when we will be looking at the state capture report in detail. We'll see whether, hopefully, in fact, I should say, it won't be, the handover of the report won't be postponed this time around. To join us again then tomorrow, 8 p.m. sharp, when we'll be looking at dissecting that report. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.